fourth fucking attempt at this intro. What is happening? This video is cursed already. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to finally go in on Sookie Stackhouse. If you have been here for a minute, you know that prior to this reread, I used to mention Sookie here and there in a very positive light. That I enjoyed her as a character, she was one of my favorite female characters, blah blah blah. It had been a long time since I read these books. The first 4 books I reread last year, but I first read them 10 years prior in 2009. And now I will say that these books, this series, will forever hold a place in my heart, specifically like the first few, the first like 4 or 5, because I read all of those in 2009, and that is what got me into fantasy. Prior to that, I was not a big fantasy reader. I had read some here and there, like in my childhood especially. I had read some sci-fi in adulthood and like just peppered in, but I wasn't like a fantasy reader. And then, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I picked up the first Sookie book and I was just hooked. And in my little reading diary, after I read the Sookie books that I read at that time, I just went all in, like trying to read all the fantasy. I was picking up various fantasy books, and that's kind of what started my journey. So even now, this series will hold a place in my heart for that reason. And this video actually started off with me wanting to do like kind of an irrelevant video about an irrelevant TV series and book series, and it still is irrelevant. Like this, nobody fucking cares. A lot of you have commented being like, I've never read Sookie and I don't plan to, but I'm thoroughly enjoying you bitching about her. So it's like entirely irrelevant. Nobody fucking cares. This isn't like a popular book series currently or anything like that. But yeah, I rewatched True Blood, the show that are based on these books, that is based on these books. And I was like, ooh, it's a good time now to reread the series and compare the books to the TV show, right? I have a little spreadsheet where I started to do that. I was keeping track of all the characters and marking if they were like only in the books or only in the TV show, or if they were in both, how they varied depending on the books or the show, like how they were described, what happened in the plot to different people in the books versus the show. I had a whole thing. For the first 4 or 5 books, I was doing this. And then I quickly realized after that, after like book 4 or 5, very little similarities. The plot, entirely different. The plot of the TV show diverts from the books 100%. Just so many things, right? So I was just like, this would just literally be a video of me being like, they're just completely different. So I didn't think it was worth doing a video. But I also, after book 4, started to realize Sookie's kind of the fucking worst. So it was at that point in book 5 that I started tabbing all the times where either the book was terrible and like problematic as fuck, which the series is. And listen, I've read one other book from Charlaine Harris that I thought was a good time. It's a newer book. It's called An Easy Death. I might pick up the second one. I think I would need to reread the first one though. And I don't know this woman. I've seen her do like one webinar interview thing. She seems like a lovely person. She seems like a sweet little Southern lady. And she, on her Twitter, she posts like support for, you know, Black Lives Matter and stuff. And do I think she's some overtly racist person? No, probably not. But you don't have to be overtly racist to have racist views and prejudices and have racist shit in your books because there's a fair amount. And so I told you guys that after I finished the 13th book, the final book, I was going to reread the first 4 because I rated all of those 4 stars when I read them last year. And I was like, bitch, was it really though? I reread the first one recently, like I literally just finished it today, and I'm not gonna reread 2, 3, and 4 because I think probably it'll be the same rating. Sookie was slightly less annoying, but not completely, but just the nostalgia the nostalgia, and because the first few books are very like Bill and Eric heavy, which I'm here for. I don't like Bill really, but it still bothered me that like for quite a few books in the series, he's just not there. He's just not present in any of the plots. He's just mentioned in passing like, oh, Bill's still my neighbor. What? And so even though I didn't really love him in the books or the show, I still liked him being there. He is who, like, he's the first vampire that Sookie meets, right? And the first man that she is with and loves and whatever. So I still appreciated him as a character. So it was very annoying for like 5 fucking books when he's just not there. I don't know, I just think that the plot made more sense in those books. The plot was more logical. She started to lose the plot entirely as the series went on. The last few books, I was like, what the fuck is happening? So that's all of that for the books. I probably will be unhauling all of them. I mean, the first couple don't have, oh Jesus, oh God. The first couple don't even have backs, so like, I don't know. Well, will I keep them? I might just keep the first few just for like posterity. Just for memory's sake. Oh, I'll keep this because I want to talk about some of these. I didn't put this on the spreadsheet yet. So yeah, book 2, 3, and 4 do not have any tabs. I didn't put any of that on the spreadsheet because I'm not rereading them. It doesn't take very long to read these, but I'm just like, I got a good feel from the first book of what the first few books are like, so don't need to do that. So yeah, in this one, Sookie was a little bit less annoying, but it's just a common thing throughout where women are described, number one, in a lot more detail than men. What the women are wearing, what their jewelry looks like, how short their skirts are, how demure they are, or how slutty they are. There's a lot of slut shaming. A lot of slut shaming in these books. Just heavy, heavy amounts. And I mean, the author was like a middle-aged to upper middle-aged lady, I think, when she started these, and this, you know, wholesome Southern lady, I think. So, I mean, when you think about who the author is, like, yeah, it makes sense that she would be like that. Just this very traditionalist viewpoint. But she's writing a character who's like 26, this 26-year-old, you know, young woman, and she's this like prejudiced and slut-shamey and this and that and just woman-hating, and it's kind of very obnoxious. So I'm gonna just go through the quotes that are, this is my evidence. This is my evidence of why Sookie sucks. So this is gonna be probably kind of long. I'll probably cut some of these out, but I'm gonna read them all. And I have a spreadsheet and columns for judgmental, so Sookie being hella judgmental. Another column for moral gymnastics, because she does this shit all the time where she justifies things. She justifies her behavior and other people's behavior in these weird, illogical ways where she's just, like, doing moral gymnastics, mental gymnastics. And then for her being hella prejudiced toward gay people, people of color, etc. A column for her just being stupid or obnoxious, and just like stupid of, and I mean that like, girl, how do you not get this? You're kind of dumb. And then certain times where she's just being annoying. And then hypocritical, because she's hypocritical all the time, and that kind of ties in with moral gymnastics sometimes. Cringy / what the fuck. A lot of sexy times where cringy is all fuck. And then special / precious Sookie. There's not as many of those, but there were a few where it's like the hair twirling, like, I don't know why they're looking at me. Like, what? Do I have a nice body or something? Like, bitch, stop. She does that shit. Oh, it drives me nuts. Also, okay, a big thing with these books is that I feel like it's a long series, and I feel like towards the end, Charlaine Harris just kind of was maybe over it or didn't know what else to do with it. But it also seemed like she forgot things sometimes, where she'd like have a character being this way, and then 3 books later, and it's only like a few months later, because these 13 books, it's like 2 years of Sookie's life. So you should have a character doing something that you're like, wait, what? That's so out of character for you. I don't understand. And like the special precious Sookie, especially, times where she'll say stuff like, I can totally tell when a man is looking at me, or when a man is like checking me out. Like, you know, a woman knows, right? And I'm kind of like, yeah, sure. I mean, most of the time it's pretty obvious. They aren't that subtle. But then later, she'll be doing something like in a skimpy outfit, and there's this one in particular that it's ingrained in my brain, where she's like flipping her hair up into a ponytail and like in this skimpy, like fucking leggings and whatever, and these two men are like, ooh, like staring at her, and she's like, what? I didn't do anything special, did I? I don't know why they're staring at me. Bitch, I thought you said you could tell when men were checking you out. Can you or can you not? And like she would just flip-flop back and forth between being so fucking naive and like, I don't know why everybody's staring. I'm just wearing a tight dress. And then being like, ugh, I know he's looking me up and down. What are you? Like, who, do you know who you are? I don't think she does. And I don't think the author knew who she was either. At any rate, back to book one. I won't read a ton from this, but in this, she's talking about these two characters and the woman, and she doesn't like them. They're trashy, like whatever. And she says, Denise was in fine form tonight, I noticed, wearing a halter top and short shorts, her mess of brown hair floofing around her head in fashionable angles. Denise wasn't truly pretty, but she was so flashy and confident that it took a while to figure that out. So she was in fine form because she was wearing a halter top and short shorts. Like, I was expecting, like, she was dancing on the tables or something. Like, being in fine form, I don't know, usually to me indicates you're doing something. Like, I don't know. And if you're wearing something it's more scandalous or more out there than a halter top and short shorts, which most young women in the summer are wearing a lot of the time. Like, why? That's not, what? Oh, fat shaming. Like, women have to be a very specific size and a very specific body type to be okay in this series. Here she says, poor lumpy Maudette. Why did we have to describe her as being lumpy? I thought she looked cheap as hell and most likely absolutely mouth-watering from a male point of view. All right. The humans were less impressive. The woman was blonde and plump, 35 or older. She was wearing maybe a pound too much makeup. She looked as worn as an old boot. Okay. And this book, the murder thing, there's like a bunch of murders. Women are being murdered. And at first, the first couple that are murdered are women who are known for being easy. And then they're just like, again, she was thinking she'd heard bad things about Dawn and her liking for rough sex. She was thinking that it was no surprise Dawn had met a bad end. And that's the general narrative throughout surrounding these women is like, well, obviously they got killed because they liked rough sex. And I just, what? Here someone is kind of, she takes it as like looking down on her because he says like this, it's the cop, it's Andy Belfleur. Because she's like, if Sam doesn't need me to work, I can come in to like talk to you. He goes, you know, this really takes precedence over working at a bar. And then she's like, oh, I was pissed off. And then she says, it was his unspoken prejudice against my particular job. Oh my God, you're such a hypocrite. You have so much prejudice against everyone for everything. But then she goes, you may not think my job amounts to much, but it's one I'm good at and I like it. I am as worthy of respect as your sister, the lawyer, Andy Belfleur. And don't you forget it. I am not stupid and I am not a slut. Who called you a slut? No one called you a slut. You seem to have a fucking complex and an obsession with sluttiness and what you deem slutty. No one called you a slut. Like, what are you talking about? She's just dumb, too. She's different. She can fucking hear people's thoughts. And fucking Bill says, like, you're different. You're not like us, but you're not like them either. I felt a flare of rage so intense it was almost divine. I hauled off and hit him. An insane thing to do. Why are you so mad? You are different. You can hear fucking people's thoughts. You know you're different. You talk about it all the time, about how different you are and your gift, your curse, your disability. Like, all the time you're talking about it. You know you're different. Why are you so fucking mad that you want to punch him? What? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah, she wears, like, a fucking skimpy-ass outfit, and she does her hair all up and her makeup all up, and everybody's staring at her. And then Bill gets, like, when he sees her, like, all like, oh, my God. And she's like, I'm sorry I'm not dressed correctly. Who said that? Bill asked, his voice very gentle. You looked at me as though I'd done something wrong. Again, flip-flopping between I'm so worldly and I know when men are like lusting after me, and then being like, why are you looking at me like that? Are you mad? Like, girl, you're dressed to the nines. Of course he's looking at you like that. Ugh. But then in this book, there were moments where I was like, see, this is what I liked about her. I just didn't recognize so many of these other things when I first read the series 10 fucking years ago. But these types of things, she's talking to Eric. It's like the first time she's met him, and he's very scary and imposing, and Bill's like, he's older than me. He's like got a lot of clout. Like, you got to be careful. And she says that she's a psych, or like that she's telepathic, and he goes, and this whole like interaction it's very tense, it's very like scary. That's interesting, he said. I had a psychic once. It was incredible. Like, drank from a psychic. And then she goes, did the psychic think so? My voice was tarter than I'd meant for it to be. I could hear Bill's indrawn breath. But that right there, her being like, man, fuck you. Like, I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna say something. I love that about her. That's what I loved about her. Not this other shit. And this book also made me so fucking more annoyed with the ending of her ending up with Sam. He's interested in her in this book, right, from the get-go. And he tells her, I've always liked you. And they go on a date before this, and he tries to kiss her. And then she's like being all confused. And like when he's like, I like you, Sookie, she's like, huh? What? Huh? Holy shit, ma'am, how are you not getting this? But the whole reason that it doesn't go further while they're on this date, he does try to kiss her, like I said, it doesn't go further because Bill has already shown an interest in her. Mind you, it's been like a few days. But she's acting, and I mean, it makes sense. She's never had a boyfriend. She's never had a relationship. She meets Bill, and within like a week is like, my love. Like, girl, calm the fuck down. So that's why her and Sam don't get together until book fucking 13. Here's another instance where I like Sookie. Her grandmother has been murdered horrifically in the kitchen in their house. It's all cleaned up. They've had the funeral. People are over for like the wake and stuff. And someone says, I guess you'll want to move. It's her grandmother's friend. And Sookie says, no. But honey, with it happening right here, Maxine's heavy face creased with concern. And then Sookie says, I have far more good memories of this kitchen than bad ones. And that like resilience I love about her. And that like pragmatism of not, like she's not super, super emotional. And I think I can relate to that. And that's why I always like related to her, was this pragmatism and this like resilience of not letting these bad things determine her life. You know what I mean? Oh, also in this book, we refer to black people as blacks and a black if it's one person. And I'm not trying to speak for black people, but it rubbed me the wrong way. And this, again, with Sam, he's like, I'm scared for you. I'm worried about you. No, you're not, or not entirely. You're mad as hell. Well, listen, buddy, you never got in line. Except he did. You literally hung out with Bill like twice. You weren't married to the man before Sam asked you on a date. You hung out with him like 2 times. Calm the fuck down. And this, like, there's so many times where it's written in a way where it's like, oh, Sookie doesn't think this prejudice thing. It's other people. But Sookie's like complicit with it. So there's these vampires that are like super annoying and extra, and they're not trying to mainstream into human life. They're being like, we're vampire badasses. And there's 2 men and a woman, and Malcolm kissed Bill on the mouth, and so did Diane. It was hard to tell which greeting was more offensive to the customers in the bar. Diane is black, and Malcolm is a man. So a male vampire kisses Bill, and then a black female vampire kisses Bill. So it was hard to tell which greeting was more offensive to the customers in the bar. Bill had better show distaste, and quick, I thought, if he wanted to stay in good with the human inhabitants of Bon Ton. It was Sookie being like, oh, the people here don't like a white guy kissing a black girl or 2 men kissing. Like, it's not me. But she's being complicit with it and like compliant with it, and I just don't like it. Again, she loves him after like 2 fucking weeks, maybe. Oh yeah, Sam being the worst again when he's a fucking dog because he's a shifter. And he like just watches her get naked, doesn't fucking say anything, like just stays a dog staring at her. You're gross, dude. She is dealing with knowing that her brother is getting arrested and she's all upset. And she says, if I were a drinking woman, I would have gotten drunk. If I'd been a casual woman, I would have called lovely J.B. Derone and had sex with him. But I'm not anything so dramatic or drastic. It's dramatic and drastic to be okay with having casual sex and having a drink or getting drunk. All right. And then here, though, again, another thing that made me like Sookie and like appreciate her. She's a woman of action. She hears some creepy shit happening. She can tell that there's someone outside of her house at night in the dark, and she's been like being hunted. She knows someone wants her dead. And so she's like, fuck, I know there's someone out there. And she knows that she's trapped in the house, that like someone could easily get into the house and like kill her in the house. So she says, okay, how could I get outside without being seen? I turned off the outside lights for a start. The back door was closer to the woods, so that was a better choice. I knew the woods pretty well. I should be able to hide in them until daylight. Could go over to Bill's house, maybe. Surely his phone was working, and I had a key. So she's like immediately like, all right, what the fuck am I going to do to survive, to get the fuck out of this? Like, I can't stay here. I'm a trapped rat in this house. I got to get out. And I really appreciate that about her. But that, like, these things that I liked about her in these first couple of books, they just kind of waned as the series went on. So, Judgmental column. I'd always figured Jason wouldn't marry a woman I truly adored. He'd always shown a partiality to tough sluts. What? Though at least I was naturally blonde. Well, assisted natural. This gal's hair looked like straw, if straw had dark roots. So you literally just admitted that your hair isn't fully natural, yet you're still being all high and fucking mighty about having natural hair color and not having dark roots. All right. She knew she would look a little old as a bride, especially compared to Haley. And this is a chick who's like 30 something. Like she's like 30 years old or like in her early 30s, I want to say, if memory serves me. Like she's not 55. Oh, God. She was wearing fishnet stockings and high-heeled boots and a red leather bustier. Well, a bustier that wished it was made of red leather. It was probably more like naga hide. And a black band of cloth I supposed she called a skirt. The fucking condescension. And also, girl, you're a fucking waitress at this small town, podunk town bar, and you talk constantly about how you're so blue-collar, you know, you don't have a lot of money, whatever, which is all fine and great. But then why are you acting like you're some fucking fashion guru with all this money to be like, it's probably not even real leather. Who the fuck cares? You're such a bitch. And a black band of cloth I supposed she called a skirt. You're a fucking bitch. The sheets startled me so much that I stood there with my lips curled. I always hate that. What does that look like? Someone standing there with their lips curled? Like, like what the fuck? What does that mean? Your mouth open? Or like, ugh. Like, that's a look of disgust. I don't know. That just doesn't say lips curled to me. But I think that's what people mean. I just don't like that in general. But anyways, with my lips curled. Black satin, for God's sake. What? Like, again, this just stereotype of, like, black satin sheets being, like, trashy whore sheets. Like, maybe some people like sleeping on satin stuff. I have a satin pillow. It's better for your skin, FYI. I think it was a hate crime. I don't know if it was personal hate because Crystal was a slut or racial hate because she was a werepanther. So sluts deserve to die yet again. Plus, she was wearing a body stocking or something very like one, and she looked good in it, which in and of itself was enough to make me hate her. She just hates women. She's so jealous. So fucking jealous and insecure. Ever since she'd gotten back to Bon Temps, she'd been anxious to return to her beauty queen measurements. She was still beautiful. There was just more of her to look good. And this is Kennedy. And it's just women, like I said, women of a specific body type, a very specific level of voluptuousness. Sookie's level of voluptuousness. And if women are too fat, then they're dumpy or plump or bleh or like whatever. They're heavy face. And if they're too skinny, they're slutty bitches. And it's so fucking annoying. But if you're the right level of voluptuousness, then, oh, you're just so beautiful and whatever. And I'm like, Miss Harris, I think you're confused about what body positivity means. Here we go. Janelyn was really, really slim. In fact, I'd call her skinny. God had been generous with me in the bosom department, but Janelyn was the possessor of little apricot-like boobs she showed off by wearing bustiers and tank tops with no bra. So if you're skinny, you're always wearing slutty clothes too, like slutty clothes. You're always wearing skimpier clothing in this series if you're a skinny woman or a thin woman. Janelyn had a sense of style, though it was a style that left me stunned. She had on a shiny silver dress that barely covered her assets, and silver high-heeled sandals that laced up the front. The silvery eyeshadow over her heavily outlined eyes completed the look. Also, Janelyn is a bad character. Women who are evil bitches, they're, number one, always skinny, and they're always dressed in scantily clad clothes. They're always scantily clad, always. We don't have a single, like, that I can think of anyways. If you care and you've read the series and you want to correct me if I'm wrong, let me know. But generally speaking, if you're skinny, you're a bitch and you're evil and you dress like a slut. That is the theme. The running shorts showed concave dips in her hip bones. I sighed. Concave was not a word I'd ever used in relation to my body. I could imagine my grandmother's opinion about Holly's white wedding dress, since Holly had a little boy in school. But hey, whatever made the bride happy. White used to symbolize the virgin purity of the wearer. Now it just meant the bride had acquired an expensive and unusable dress to hang in her closet after the big day. Waitresses in hot pants and halter tops, Eric began. Oh, stop, I said, disgusted. Hot pants and halter tops are disgusting. All right, sure. Tonight, Janelyn was wearing abbreviated denim shorts, those sandals that lace up the calves, and a single blue tank top with no bra underneath. Again, Janelyn, the bad skinny bitch, is dressed in a scantily clad outfit. She was younger than me and she was skinny. Somehow that made Eric's offense worse. He was feeding on a chick. And because she's skinny and young, that makes it worse. Holy shit, you fuck, get a grip, get a therapist, read a book about working through your insecurity, do something. Kim's grieving parents were posed clutching a Bible and a bouquet of daisies, which they said had been Kim's favorite flower. Though I chided myself for my snobbishness, they didn't look like much. You should be chiding yourself all the time for your fucking snobbishness. Angie was a leggy redhead I'd hardly exchanged 2 words with. I'd hate her forever because she danced on Eric's favorite table while wearing spike-heeled shoes. That's a reason to hate someone, for sure. Editing Joshana here to say that I decided this video needed to be broken into 2 parts because I had an hour and a half of footage. I got it down to about an hour and I couldn't cut much more. And I didn't want to subject you to an hour-long video, so we're gonna break it up into 2 approximately half-hour-long videos. So we are done for today. Tune in next time for part 2 of why Sookie is the worst. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.